Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Pittsburg City Commission. Would you please stand and join me in the invocation by Reverend Don Talent.
Before I pray, I wanted to say this to the city commissioners. I've been a part of this community for 45 years, and I have just been so proud of the way that this commission, for the last 45 years that I've been here, has made this city a very beautiful and very lovely place to live and to raise our kids. And I know that you're going to continue to do that. It's been a privilege to be part of this community for that length of time. So thank you.
For all that you've done for
Thank you.
community.
Father, we just thank you that we can live in a country, God, that we can have freedom. We can live, Father, in a place, Father, that you place us, Father, where we can raise our children. And Father, they can know you. And that, Father, that we can have peace. And Father, I thank you that these today that you have placed in the authority over us in this city are hearing your voice and making decisions, Father, that would honor you and protect and to keep your people. And Father, we thank you for that. You've made this a beautiful place to live. And I know that, Father, you're going to continue to do that as you continue to give wisdom and knowledge and understanding to all these who have been placed in authority. For those who are coming into authority tonight, I thank you that you give them wisdom. For those who are leaving, Father, the authority positions, thank you for the service that they've given. And now, Father, I ask you to honor them. And I ask you to honor this commission and this city. In Jesus' name, amen, amen.
Thank you. Will you please join me in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. We will move on to the public input portion of our evening. Is anybody here this evening for the purpose of providing public input on any topic? By the way, Commissioner Gray is on the phone, in case you can't hear. Okay, so Michael Gray is joining us by telephone this evening. Is there anyone here? All right, we will close that portion of our meeting. Now we go on to a reorganization portion of our meeting. We apologize if some point in time this gets to be a little movie around kind of deal, but it's the way it happens every year. Before we do that, I want to take a moment and publicly thank Patrick O'Brien for his years of service to the Pittsburg City Commission. Prior to this meeting, we had a reception, and many people were here to wish him well. Patrick, as a longtime successful business owner, had a very unique and wonderful perspective to provide to our commission over the years as it's changed. We wish him well. We thank him sincerely, and we know that he has many more good things to do for the city of Pittsburgh. So thank you to Patrick, even though he didn't want to hear it. I hope he sees it in the paper tomorrow. All right, we're moving on to the next item. Newly elected and re-elected commissioners sworn in and seated by the city clerk. Tammy?
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties
and faithfully discharge the duties
of City Commissioner
of City Commissioner
for the City of Pittsburg, Kansas.
for the City of Pittsburg, Kansas.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations to all of you. Welcome, Jeremy. Welcome back, Chuck and Jeff. Welcome to Jeremy Johnson, new member of the commission. We have a chair right over here for you on the end. Even though your neighbor's absent, you're responsible to pick up the phone in case we hang up on him and he calls back. I have a new task for you. All right, we'll move on to the next item. We have a mayor elected from members of the governing body. Is there a motion?
I move to nominate Chuck myself for the position of mayor.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
same sign. Congratulations, Chuck. The sheet in front of me here now says the new mayor is sworn in and seated by the city clerk. Thank you, Timmy.
After me, I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties
and faithfully discharge the duties
of mayor
of mayor
for the city of Pittsburg, Kansas,
for the city of Pittsburg, Kansas.
so help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
We're gonna do this, Ed?
Straight up.
All right. Monica, would you come forward?
Yes, sure.
We have a ceremonial gavel
Oh,
to
great.
present Monica Mernan, Mayor, 2014 to 2015.
Great.
Thanks for your service to citizens.
Thanks, Chuck.
Need to open the nominations for President of the Board of Commissioners. I nominate John Ketterman, President of the Board.
I second that nomination.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say
Aye.
aye. All opposed, same sign. Congratulations, John.
Thank you.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties
and faithfully discharge the duties
of President of the Board of Commissioners
as President of the Board of Commissioners
for the City of Pittsburg, Kansas,
for the City of Pittsburg, Kansas.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Moving on to the consent agenda, is there any items to be removed for discussion?
I believe you wanted to pull off item G this evening.
Item G,
I'd like to pull item C.
C. Right, we'll go to item C. Is there a question about it?
Yeah. My question was kind of how the city goes about choosing what's on the list, and particularly the omission of the Kansas Teachers Credit Union in town.
To my knowledge, credit unions are not allowed per Kansas statutes to be public depositories of public funds. The statute reads that it has to be banks, savings and loans, or savings banks. I think it has something to do with the collateral that they have to put up for pledge security. They're not members of FDIC either as well, so that's why. And the ones that I do have on the list, I've contacted, and they've shown interest in the city's deposits, so. Does that answer your question?
So, yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
I'd move to approve item C.
We need to approve the agenda,
Is there a-
consent agenda prior to those.
I didn't do that.
Yeah, go ahead and do the.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda excluding item C?
G.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Moving on to item C, is there?
Post better roll call.
Roll call.
Gray,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Ketterman,
Aye.
Munsell, Murnane.
Hi.
Consider the following. Home Rule Ordinance Number 5.
We need to go ahead and do C.
Now he needs to
C
make
and
a
G.
motion to approve C.
Oh, okay, I thought we did it.
So
Is there a motion to approve item C on the
Yes.
agenda?
I move.
I second.
All in favor? Or-
Aye.
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 And item G was just being pulled because we already have that statute, correct?
Yeah, item G doesn't need a vote. That's actually, once we looked into it, it duplicates a ordinance that we passed when you were mayor, Commissioner Ketterman, so we should be good with that one, so we'll just pull it off and no action needed.
I have one more thing that I'd like to mention. On the consent agenda, I noticed that we had yet another great citizen agree to serve on the Economic Development Advisory Committee. And I was just wondering if maybe when the next time comes around for new membership on that committee, as with all of our committees, that if there were some interested female volunteers, maybe we could look at seeing if there might be some people who are interested in serving and explaining to them what that commission involves, and maybe those folks could be considered.
Great point, and just as a clarification, if any time during the year, anyone, any citizen, any of you run across anybody that has an interest in serving on a board, the city clerk, Tammy, would be happy to keep their name, and that way when the board appointments come up, she'll have a list that she can provide to you for consideration, because right now it's kind of just happenstance. Oh, hey, we have an opening, and they ask the board members and go. But it's nice. Every once in a while we get people that are interested in doing it, and just because it happens to be February and the appointments aren't until December, there's no need to tell them to come back to us in 10 months. So just let us know. We'll get them on the list, and we'll get it before you when it comes up.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Moving on to consider the following. Home Rule Ordinance Number 5. Consideration of Home Rule Ordinance Number 5, authorizing the city of Pittsburg, Kansas to issue and sell general obligation bond of the city for the purpose of providing funds to refinance and repay certain loans, lease and/or lease purchase obligations of the city, together with the payment of the costs thereof, authorizing the execution of all necessary and related documents pertaining thereto, all pursuant to Article 12, Section 5 of the Constitution of the State of Kansas and KSA 12-101 as amended.
Mayor, Commissioners, this is a legal formality that the city needs to have in place in order to refinance two current Kansas Department of Health and Environment loans with general obligation bonds. The principal, the par amount will stay the same, and the term will stay the same, but the interest rates will go down. And this is one of the things that's required for us to do that. It'll save the city approximately $450,000 over the term of the.
What was that again, Jimmy?
It'll save around $450,000 in interest charges over the life of the loan or bonds.
Anybody have any questions for Jimmy? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Resolution number 1168. Consider resolution number 1168, authorizing and providing for the public sale of general obligation refunding bonds, series 2015A of the city of Pittsburg, Kansas, setting forth the details of said sale and providing for the giving of notice thereof.
This is just another legal document that's required for the city to authorize the purchase of the general obligation bonds. I have Tom Calco from Springstead in the audience tonight if anyone would have any questions on the bond requirements,
Anybody have any
proceeds.
questions? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Chairman, you want a second?
Second, that's fine, yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jamie. Non-agenda and request.
Have a couple of them, Mayor.
All right.
The first one, at the last meeting, we talked about the new court system and the impact it would have, and The question was, can we have somebody from the court come here and give a few minutes about their operations, what the impact would be, and I believe we have those people here, so that'll be the first item.
Mayor, Commissioners, if you give me just a second, we'll get a presentation put together for you. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you and talk a little bit about the court system, the integration with the police department, our technology piece, and then also I have the Municipal Court Administrator, Cindy Rushton, with me. And Cindy will kind of walk you through the personnel and kind of what they do on a daily basis in the court system itself. Excuse me. So what kind of led us to come here tonight was we came before you last meeting, I believe it was, asking for approval to purchase software from Tyler Technologies. It is a municipal court software, but it's a very integral part of our combined operations. And I kind of wanted to key in on that so that you understand why court is part of the public safety sales tax. Basically, when we talk about the interface between municipal court and the police department, it breaks down into three key components. The first and probably the most important is the integration component between the records and the information flow back and forth from the patrol, the street, into the court, and back from the court back out to the street, and I'll get into that a little bit more in just a moment. The other is the court workflow process, obviously what they do on a daily basis, all the records that they're required to maintain, and all of our outward reporting that we do. And then obviously the financial accounting piece, which is a very important part of what we do every day. Years ago, in 1999 and 2000, we went to the Sleuth platform that we currently have. We were one of the first agencies in the state of Kansas to be a fully integrated organization. So what does that truly mean? What that means is our computer network is in the center. It's the core component system. Right now it's the Sleuth operating system. The core systems will be the New World platform and the Tyler platform. And they all connect to everything that we do on a daily basis. Our CAD systems, which is our computer dispatching, the court systems, our overall records management system, and then finally the mobile piece, which is the officers on the street. So to get you a little bit more detail, what do we do with CAD? That's dispatch entry. And it's important to the court side because a lot of times the person that calls is the witness to the crime. It's the victim to the crime. It's the reporting party. And so it's someone who may be part of the court business down the road when this winds its way through our system. The records management system, that's the vital component. That's the records that we live off of every single day. Our biggest challenge today in the systems that we have is duplicate entries. The officers enter offender information in their reports when they make an arrest, and then the complaint comes to the court, and Cindy and her staff has to turn around and put that information back in the system again. Very bad workflow and creates a lot more work than really what we need to do. Court is another layer of information that provides historical information or historical documentation. Codes enforcement cases, noxious weed complaints, things that we don't deal with on the law enforcement side, but still the address, the individuals, all their information. They may have an accident down the road 6 months, a year later. That information's in there. The officers can grab that information, and again, it speeds up our processes. And then finally, the mobile piece is the connection between the officers in the field and the information in the report management in the court system. Now, why is that important? First and foremost, let me give you an example. If an officer makes a DUI arrest, if a driving under the influence violation comes through our court, it's a citation, it's an arrest, they do the report, they process a municipal court bond, and that's their paperwork. If it's a third, fourth, fifth conviction, or offense, then it becomes a felony. So the officers have to do an entirely different set of paperwork. They have to do affidavits that are forwarded to the county attorney's office. It's an entirely different bond sheet. It's an entirely different court process. If the officers don't have access to that information, they fill out a municipal court case. It gets to Cindy's office. We realize it's in the wrong court. They have to dismiss the charges. The officers have to start all over again and get it into the correct court. So having that mobile piece where those officers can access that court information, tremendously important to making sure we get things going where they need to go and not have to go back and repeat that process over and over again. What does municipal court do? Their primary function is to manage cases. Their cases are generated by our police department. We also generate cases through Pittsburg State University Police Department, the Pittsburgh Animal Control Division, Pittsburgh City Codes Enforcement, and City Building Inspectors. All those different issues land at our feet in municipal court. So that's just a snapshot of the players in municipal court and what they do. We handle only misdemeanor cases. We don't handle any felonies in our court. Misdemeanors are punishable by less than a year in the county jail, and usually a fine not to exceed $1,000 depending on the violations. We handle infractions, which are just simple traffic tickets and things that don't require a court appearance. You can just pay the fine and dispose of the matter. And then obviously our ordinance violation cases. Typically, the most serious cases we see, domestic batteries, and then your DUI cases. We handle other alcohol cases, MIP and things like that. Minor in possession. We're notorious for our acronyms. I apologize. So stop me if I get going too fast on those. Traffic offenses, parking tickets, stop sign violations, animal codes ordinance violations, and then the city and nuisance code violations. Could be noxious weeds, it could be sewer infiltration violations and things like that. Just general city quality of life issues, if you will. So Cindy will talk to you. That's kind of in a nutshell on the law enforcement piece. The other two pieces are what they do on a daily basis and the financial side, and I'll let Cindy cover that for you.
Okay. Well, we have 4 full-time employees and 3 part-time staff. I'm the court administrator, and I oversee the daily operations for both the court and the prosecution. And then we have 3 staff members. One of those clerks is full-time for the prosecution, and then the other 2 work for the judge. So they do support for the daily operations, and it's split up a little bit that way. The judge is responsible for adjudicating cases. He comes in on Wednesdays. The prosecutor also, he makes appropriate determinations regarding the charges. He represents the city's interest. And then we also have a probation officer, and she does post-conviction monitoring. So she meets with people to have them pay their fines to make sure that they are doing what they're supposed to do as ordered by the judge. What will happen, our case flow is that a case is filed, whether it can be by a police officer, a codes officer, or the animal control officer. Then the complaints arrive in municipal court. We enter them into the computer system. We docket that information, and we make sure that the charges are correct, that they're accurate, and that they meet our code that we have put in place. We make sure that we know when the person will appear, if the person is represented by legal counsel. We track the cases through the judicial system. That's whether it's an initial appearance, a trial, sentencing, probation revocation, if required. Case preparation includes working with the witnesses, working with the complainants, getting out officer subpoenas. It also, you get evidence. We have to get evidence prepared to go to trial. We work with the legal counsel and their appearances and schedule their appearances for them. We work with documentations of driving records and conviction history, which is important, whether it would be a theft that we would have to send as a felony because we have to meet certain guidelines. Once you have 2 thefts, it is then a felony, so we can't prosecute those cases. Then we dispose of those cases. So once they've appeared and it's been taken care of, we do the post-conviction sanctions, such as probation. If they're willing to do community service, we assign that out, the jail sentences, the fines, and all the other court fees that go with that.
Some of the other court fees, just to give an example, for instance, if somebody has an alcohol violation, they may have to go through what's called an alcohol safety action program. They have to pay for that. And so that's some of the other fees that we see that we keep track of, even though it's an exterior organization, something we're still responsible for as part of their overall fine package.
Yeah. And that also is, the state has requirements that we pay certain fees to the state. So on DUIs, the newest one that they have implemented is a $250 fee on DUIs for community corrections. So we collect those fees, And then at the end of the month, we send those fees to the state, and those are ordered by state statute. So, conviction reporting, which includes reporting dispositions to the Kansas Bureau of Investigations. That means that when somebody's convicted of theft or battery, domestic battery, anything like any misdemeanor, we are required by statute to report that to the Kansas Bureau of Investigation. It's really important on a lot of things when they're doing background checks and those kinds of things, that's timely. We do that we have it in our system, but right now we're having to input that in, but the new system will help it, so it will automatically go. We also are required by statute to, within 10 days of conviction for a speeding ticket or a driving while revoked, to send that information to the Kansas Division of Motor Vehicles. We do that electronically. We also do that electronically through, we do suspensions of driver's licenses or restrictions or sanctions on the driver's license. So if you would get a minor in possession and the judge orders you to have a 30-day restriction on your driver's license, we have to do that electronically through the system. They don't accept it via fax. It has to go electronically. We also handle all warrants for the municipal court. We issue the warrant. We have the computer database entries, and then this new system would do an interdepartmental electronic warrant files. So we're not walking the file there. It's not all being manually held.
It kind of gets back to that mobile piece that I talked about. When the officer does a car stop, and they can run the driver's license, they will be able to, under the new system, they'll be able to run the driver's license from their car. If there's a warrant in our system, it's going to ping up on their computer right there in the car, so they'll have immediate access to that. In the databases that we were talking about, KCGIS is the Kansas Criminal Justice Information System. NCIC is the National Crime Information Center. It's the National Computer Database for Criminal History Information.
Yeah, I didn't realize. Okay, so our financial components are the fines and court costs associated with cases are tracked and reported to the City Finance Department. And we do that daily and then monthly. At the end of the month, with the new Tyler technology system, we will not have to manually do that. Right now, the process that we have to do is all manual. We do not have a way that it says this is restitution or this is bond and this goes in this account. It is all manual. We give them a report, and at the end of every day, they have to put that information into Tyler right now. So, that's a really important part of it. Again, bonds. So when somebody posts a cash bond, this system will track that bond better. It'll go to the correct general ledger. It'll get taken out of and refunded if need be, or dispersed to the correct, or to any case that is available that needs money put on it. And then he had already talked a little bit about the other fees that are assessed, such as alcohol. If we would order domestic violence counseling and they don't have the money to pay for that at the time, we can assess those fees, and any other post-sanction conviction. Are we? Okay. Okay. Some instances also involve payments made by the court related to cases, which may include restitution. So say somebody has damage to their door, or I just had like a theft case where some worker had stolen $20 from this person that didn't have any money, so we ordered restitution for that $20 to be repaid when we receive those funds back, when they pay their fines and fees or their diversion fees. Medical expenses, we had somebody at one point that had like $900. They had been battered, went to the emergency room, had to be treated, didn't have insurance. So we try to give ask for those back from the defendants. The other thing that we have is we charge for animal storage. So if you have a dog at large and you come and pick it up and we've had it impounded for so many days, we'll charge so much per day, and that goes against those fines and fees also.
So we've ran through it really, really quickly. I apologize for that. But we just wanted to give you a snapshot. The big piece is the integration. We all have to work together, and we do so many things manually. We're doing so much double entry now, and with the core systems that we're going to, all this manual entry, all this manual documentation, all that stuff's going to go away. We're going to be much more efficient at what we do. The officers are going to have critical information out there on the street. And frankly, we're going to be a model for other agencies to look for in terms of integration and the power of technology that we have. And again, throughout this process we've talked about, there are other agencies going to come on board with us. So again, it just makes us that much better in what we do. Do you have any questions? We've run through it quickly. I apologize.
I do. Yeah, I do. So I have several. Great. Thanks for all that information. I was the one who requested this, and I feel much better informed now. So thank you for making it so succinct. Who is the judge?
Go ahead.
Curious.
Yeah, who's going to take that one?
Frederick Smith, he actually goes by Rick Smith.
And then who's the prosecutor?
John Mazurek.
And do those, and then, also who's the probation officer?
Teresa Miller.
So do those three people work for the city?
Mm-hmm.
So they're city employees?
Teresa doesn't.
Yeah, that's right. Teresa's
She's a contract. She has an agreement that when her probation fee is assessed to the probationer. So when they pay their actual probation fee, she gets reimbursed for that. But she doesn't get paid for that until they start paying on that. So she can sometimes have a case for 2 years that she's met with them on a weekly basis because she only charges $50 per client. And sometimes they might be, so she does it per contract.
And why wouldn't we use the Department of Corrections system of probation that's out there already?
The Department of Corrections resides within the district court system.
Yes.
And with us being in a municipal court, we're a separate court system. So that's why we have our own probation officer, because they're part of our system. We're separate court systems, so we don't use Department of Corrections just because we don't report to them.
So the other two are employees?
They are contract employees with the city.
So all the human resource stuff that we do with all of our other employees, these people fall underneath, just like the people the 4 full-time staff you mentioned?
They do, but they don't. The inherent nature of the criminal justice system is to provide autonomy. So the judge is appointed and stays appointed until he's no longer appointed.
By whom?
Appointed originally by the city manager,
Okay.
I believe. Is that correct? Am I saying that
I didn't
correctly?
appoint him, but yes, the city manager.
Yeah, no. Rick has been with us for,
Long time,
yeah,
hasn't
and John's been around, but they're appointed by the city manager, but they're not supervised by anybody, simply because they're autonomous positions.
he? By statute? I'm just curious, it seems odd. This is not.
I'm not
by
sure.
statute?
I'm not sure what.
I don't like that, Chair Chuck.
Yeah, well,
just
so within the
curious.
criminal justice system, if you're a judge, whether you're a district court judge, an appellate court judge, or a municipal court judge, you're autonomous for the reason of why, if anybody can be sued for anything, you run into those problems. So they're autonomous. The judge can dismiss a case, the judge can dismiss a fine, as long as he's operating within the parameters set by the Kansas judiciary, judge's manual, so to speak. You operate like this. It's the same with prosecutors. Prosecutors are autonomous. They don't answer, just like our Michael Gayoso, for example. Michael doesn't answer to anyone but Michael.
But he's elected.
But he is elected, correct. So when his election time comes up, then if the voters aren't happy with him, he can be voted out of office. My assumption is that if there's an issue within our court system, Darren would have the authority as the person in charge of all city personnel to make those changes if they were warranted.
I see.
Am I saying that
That's
correctly?
correct, yes.
Okay, all right, thanks. And then the probation thing, I think you answered that. Where is court held? In this room? Mm-hmm. Okay, so like every Wednesday? There's,
Every Wednesday at 10:30, 1:15, and 2 o'clock.
oh, okay. Just
Two
curious.
chairs disappear. So this is where the clerk resides, the judge, and then this is the witness box over here.
Okay. And then the fees, did I understand correctly, that all is handled by Jamie, right? That all goes through
Yes.
that way?
And it's all broke out per category that it needs to go to. So we'll have a fee that has to be paid to the state. We have a fee there's a judge's fee, there's a law enforcement fee for training. There are certain fees that have to be paid to the state, so we pay those. We pay the restitution, and those are all broke out. We have them all categorized each day, and then at the end of the month, we disperse those funds where they need to go.
And this new system is going to help with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically Cindy has to keep track of all that manually. But again, we're going back to double entry.
Yeah.
She does it on a ledger, it goes to Jamie's office, and then Jamie's staff has to put it back in. Because we're all going to be on the same Tyler system, it'll just come over electronically where it's supposed to go. So it's going to cut down a lot on that workload.
And where do we see this department in the budget?
It's all under the police department. It's
Amy?
It's a division under the police department.
So when we look
Just
at
like
it.
animal control, municipal court.
Okay, I think I've just missed it in the past. Who determines restitution? Is that a state thing?
Actually,
like
that's up to the
guidelines?
judge. And actually, I see that a lot more than not, it's also up to the prosecutor. It determines if somebody's going to go diversion, and it determines on what the case is. And there's a lot of variables that go into them determining if they're going to do restitution or not. The prosecutor is a little bit more likely in that diversion agreement, because that diversion agreement is doing some other things that we get that restitution.
I see.
So.
Okay. And then on the new system, I would assume there's lots of different, I want to say status of the process. So somebody's been
workflow.
ticketed or charged or pending or guilty or warrant. What would you say to those folks who say, I was ticketed yesterday, but I'm going to fight that, but is that going to go into the system?
That
So
goes
if I'm
into the system.
stopped
So what happens
tomorrow,
is-
then will that information be there even though I wasn't found guilty yet?
Yeah.
The system that we have now does that currently. So the officers, let me give you an example. So an officer writes somebody for a taillight violation, and then 3 weeks later sees that same vehicle with that same taillight still out.
But it
So
hasn't
the
gone
officer,
to court yet.
correct.
Yep.
So the officer can go into the system and see, has that person already gone to court, paid the ticket, and just not fixed, so we need to cite them again? Or did they come in and plead not guilty and they're waiting for a trial? So the officer can see that and decide, do I need to take further action, or is this something still pending in court?
I see. Okay. I think thanks for answering all those, and thanks for your time for doing that.
Any other questions?
I just had one, and I don't know how pertinent it is, but will this help with the long time storage of the files and stuff?
Actually, we're addressing that right now. We are in the process of scanning all of those files. We are actually in our misdemeanor files to F, which is awesome. We started this 2 years ago, and we process those files as we, after our court is all done and we've processed everything, then we work on those files and getting those all scanned into the system. We are digital right now in this area, where when we have a new case, it all goes digital, and at the end of the case, when it is taken care of, it's digital. It's no longer a hard copy file.
A question for Tim and Cindy?
I just have one more question and follow up to something that Monica asked, and this might be a question for Jamie or Darren or somebody. Is it pretty typical to see the court piece of the budget to fall under the police department's portion, or do you typically see those separated out?
I think it's consistent with how I would expect to see it, but I'll defer to Jamie if Jamie's been here so long, I don't think he's seen it any other way, but.
The city of Pittsburgh, it's always been that way. Now, as far as other municipalities, I'm not for sure how they operate. I know there's money involved, but there's also police work, so to speak, involved.
Well, and I guess, Michael, if I can clarify, the actual budget is a separate budget outside of the police department. It has its own budget line, and Cindy kind of sets that budget with Mindy, but there's no commingling of funds. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I wasn't assuming that there was any commingling of funds. I just didn't know if it was if those decisions. I guess trying to figure out how to.
A delineation of services?
In conjunction with the police department, or is there, in other municipalities, are those decisions relative to budget and money made outside of the police department? I guess that's what I was referring to. I wasn't concerned about us commingling funds that shouldn't be.
I don't know the answer to that, but I can sure reach out to some of the other municipalities and find out.
Michael, hey, this is Darren. I think one thing to clarify is that the prosecutor and the judge are contract, but everybody else, every time we've had a move in there, we talk about FTEs and how many people are going to work in the court system. They work through the city manager's office like everybody else, and all the revenue generated out of that court is similar to that with the swimming pool, the golf course, where it all goes into the general fund. So unless it was a separate utility fund, there's really no reason for it to be separated. So since they're all general fund supported, and all of their HR, with the exception of those 2 contract employees, comes through here, it's pretty consistent where it's at. Does that help you get to where you're?
Yeah, I think that helps. I was just curious in terms of follow-up to one of the questions she had asked, but I might just address it further a little bit with you in detail when I get back in town.
Sure.
Certainly not something I'm concerned about. I just was curious.
Are there any other questions for Tim and Cindy? Thank you very much. That's very
Thank you,
informative.
Thank you.
A few more things.
Right.
East Quincy is a capital improvement project that we're getting ready to start, I believe, tomorrow. And Bill, if you wouldn't mind, can take 5 minutes for those people in the room and paying attention at home to know what they're in for through September.
This is a project that kicks off tomorrow. The contractor has all been with the utilities the last couple of days. Actually, Quincy Street will close. Phase 1 of Quincy Street will close, which will be from Broadway to a point approximately 150 foot east of the SKO railroad track. This will be done in phases. As they finish one phase, they'll open it up. As they move into the next phase, there'll be 4 phases. Again, we're looking at a September completion date. Both the contractor and the project inspector feel they'll get finished with it sooner than that. But as far as KDOT working days, that's the timeline that it will be. So again, tomorrow, sometime probably mid-morning, they will close phase 1, which will be Quincy Street from Broadway to a point just east of the railroad tracks.
And then once that phase is done, then they'll close another section?
They'll close another section.
What-
We have access planned for all the businesses and houses along their residence. They'll change as the phases moves on. Of course, the Broadway, McDonald's and Pizza Hut have Broadway access, so they'll not have their side access until phase 1 is completed. But we do have routes for the houses along there where they don't have alleys to get them to their houses throughout the project.
Is there what is that, a dance pit, or what is that building behind?
That is private ownership. Mr. Roger Heckert owns that. I think he has it for his hobbies, and also he uses that with his family members to I guess, that recreational.
Will he have access to that during that closing?
He will be coming in off of probably Carlton, another direction during that period.
What is the scope of the entire project?
This will be when completed, it'll be a 3-lane concrete paved street from Broadway to the point about 350 feet east of Joplin. The center lane will be a turn lane. There'll be new storm sewer, new water line throughout the project. Traffic signal at the intersection of Joplin and Quincy, so that no longer will be a 4-way stop. It'll be a activated, traffic activated signal there. So big improvement to move cars and concrete for a long-lasting, project.
Any other questions for Bill?
Again, we just urge that everybody drive safely. Work zones have been or will be in place, and take extra time to get where they need to go because there could be some delays. So,
Thanks, Bill.
thank you.
Wanted to first say thank you to Patrick O'Brien. He was one of the 5 commissioners that hired me, so feel very fortunate to work here in Pittsburgh and appreciate all he did for me the last 3 years. And on behalf of the staff, congratulate all of you. Looking forward to another fantastic 2 years. I hope you guys get what you need, and if you don't, let us know. And looking forward to working with all of you. Welcome aboard, Jeremy, and here we go.
I'd like to make a comment. I'd like to thank all the citizens that got out and voted in the recent election. I enjoyed knocking on your doors and talking to a lot of you. I know most of the time in the commission room, we don't have a lot of input from people, but it's good to get that input knocking on their doors. Anything else?
That's it for staff.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.